Great. We're almost there. All right. Okay, hello, you're here. And I'm excited for you to, on a couple of reasons. One is that we are coming together in a big, powerful collective space. Certainly in a time where this type of work is very necessary. We need collective healing, we need personal healing. And also because we're going to be going into some deeper awarenesses of what we're holding on an energetic level in our bodies. And in that, we're going to be going through a deep guided healing to support you in some of the inherent energy we carry in our body as it relates to deep subconscious fears, as it relates to fear that's embedded in our system, not just the physical or the emotional, energetic, and physical bodies, but also in the system of our world that we're inherently living in, and on some level, we're immersed in, we're participating in. It's a part of our shadow, also, of what we're holding. And we're also going to be looking at some deeper inherent patterns of shame and where that forms in the body energetically. And so I'm going to be diving in here to some deeper places in our system, specifically what's below the belt and typically very unconscious to us. Before we get started, I want to invite you just to turn off any notifications, any distractions, anything that might take you out of the present moment. This is important because as you're physically present in here, I also invite you to be on a heart level present in here, on a mental level present in here, and fully here on an energetic level. And so I'm just going to take a moment and we'll just allow you to gather yourself on an energetic level and arrive into this space. So we'll just envision here that there is a powerful circle, and the circle is our space together. And those of you who are here are receiving this circle here in this moment, and those who listen back in the future will also arrive into this circle as you listen back into this space, and know that this healing is for now and for the future. So if you're listening back later, you'll receive the deep level of healing, the same level of healing. So take a moment, let's gather in together. I'm going to close my eyes and just do a gentle opening where we allow ourselves to close our eyes and put our feet on the earth and envision our grounding cords, which is this beam of light or tree trunk image secure around your hips and sit bones, and allow it to be a wide pipeline that extends down through the layers of the earth. And as we gather here together and we take a deep seat, we're calling forth in our being the light of our soul, who continues to prevail, who has chosen this life, who has come here on purpose to live, to thrive, to learn, to heal, to grow, to evolve. We're gathering the essence of our soul as we take a deep seat into our bodies. And then around our circle here are our powerful assistants. We have assistants who've been working with me for a long time here. They're advanced students. They are also supporting you here in this space, holding space for your healing and holding a pillar of light for you that you may come into alignment in yourself as you gather into this space, and that prayer is infused into our divine healing space together. And I pray that the divine hold us all in vibrancy, in community, that our angels and guides hold this as a sacred container of love and of healing and of light. Pray that my connection is open to God, that I receive light through my crown to my third eye, throat, and heart, and deep into the earth. May it be protected with love. I pray that we have a blessed and powerful time today in this event. Thank you, God, so be it, and so it is. So for a while now, I've been really focused on the lower chakras and the energy body. And the reason for that is because we are in a time period in our life, certainly with the coronavirus in 2020, let's just say that, coronavirus, everything that's going on the collective, on a civil rights level, on a gender rights level, on a political level, emotional, energetic, all across the board. We're in such a dynamic time. And really, so much of this is about shifting the root element of our body, the root chakra element of our body, especially when we're working with issues of race and gender and equality and viruses and physical health and morality and what goes into politics and, well-being, etc. So sort of these earth element issues that are alive right now and potent are very much a part of our root chakra area of the body. What happens often in spiritual growth is that we're evolving up here, but sometimes disconnecting from the root area of the body, and it makes it very difficult to embody in the consciousness that we're experiencing right now, when actually people who are spiritual, empathic, sensitive, intuitive are needed in their root chakras, are needed on this earth, are needed in the healed element of their second chakras. And so I want to paint a picture for you when we're talking about root chakra in the body. I want to describe this from the trajectory of the lifetime of a soul. And so what might happen, we'll just say this is any soul. And let's say a soul comes into a body, thousands of years ago, and that soul comes into the body of a woman. And that woman is very connected to the land, very tribal, very indigenous, also very revealed, and knows her place in her tribe and is respected, just as there's mutual respect for, the men, the women, the role for each, and that there's often not necessarily gender-based roles, but there is a knowing of her place in the world. And let's say that knowing of who I am was the imprint from that lifetime, and that sense of embodiment as a feminine being was the imprint of that lifetime. And then let's say that indigenous, a lifetime, that the individual at that lifetime, the woman, passes away and was honored at her death, and leaves the body, and on the soul realm comes back in, has a different assignment for the next life. And let's say that assignment is a warrior. And let's say that warrior is binary. The warrior isn't gender specific, male or female, but that individual embodies both, embodied in the feminine, embodied in the masculine, and lives a lifetime of knowing that balance, that strength in their body. And then we're going forward in hundreds of years as the mind is evolving, and as science and technology are evolving, and we start to come into more, this person ends up transforming into or is born into a role of being able to make laws, decide the rights of a male or a female, and starts to understand the starts to dominate, we'll say, starts to develop ways and skills that fear becomes the impetus to start to control what's going on in the environment. Let's say it's in Greece, let's say it's in Rome, let's say it's in, Europe, or eventually the United States. And we carry forth the budding of control and patriarchal views and understanding of life and what's going to work. And then let's say that, that individual was masculine and leaves that lifetime, comes in as a healer the next lifetime. And in that lifetime, they experience, suppression, oppression, persecution. Let's say they leave that lifetime and come into a lifetime of slavery and experience captivity, suppression, again, feeling the oppression and the shame in the body. And then let's say, what if this is the very first lifetime you've ever been the race that you are? Or let's say this is the very first lifetime you've ever been the gender that you are, or the color of skin that you are. This could be any one of us. This is the lifetime of the soul, is that we have gone throughout history, throughout time. We have gone in and out of historical experiences that we embody or embed into our spiritual DNA. And oftentimes, I'll use this phrase that we're not necessarily embodied. And I want to be clear, because I'm going to counter that by saying we can be absolutely embodied, but sometimes what we're embodied with is the wounds that we've carried through these generations, these lifetimes that we might have taken through the family lineage into our being. And this is the consciousness of the root chakra. The consciousness of the root chakra is that it carries our history. And that history can be everything I just painted from previous lifetimes into now. It can also be, what the ancestors, your own personal ancestors, have lived through in their downloads to you. And out of that comes their belief systems and the tribal rules that are really it's the family of origins rules that are spoken and unspoken. It becomes our system that we marinate in here. And our system in the family of origin is often informed by the system of humanity or society, what's acceptable. And when we're sensitive beings being raised in environments where we're told our truth, we're not just told, but it's demonstrated for us on a nonverbal level that our truth is wrong. This is how you feel, this isn't right, you have to feel this way. This is what we believe, this is how we exist. And we get it very early on in our DNA. We start to develop inside ourselves fear-based existence, fears that are so hardwired in our system that we don't realize that we are blind sometimes to the system. We have blind spots to what is so innately ingrained in us. And so what happens here, I've used this word, the patriarchy, often, and the patriarchy really is the wounded masculine. It's the aspect of the masculine in our being and in as an archetype that fears the balance with the feminine and fears losing control and fears losing power and sense of self. And so out of that fear comes dominating or oppressing. I will be in charge. I'll put this in order. I'll make everything okay. Out here, I'll set the rules. and the rules will be abided by. And that's how it is. That's how we maintain order. Now, the healthy aspect of that masculine is structure is good. Structure isn't a bad thing. It's not negative. But to an extreme, when it's imbalanced, it's motivated by fear that, the vulnerable or the feminine or the connection of, being in tuned with self and nature is going to overpower that aspect. On the flip side, the wounded feminine aspect of our being is the victim. I will just follow along. I will, consistently put myself in the space of and in the relationship with the dominating, the feeling of being powerless, the feeling that I don't have rights, that I don't have my sense of self, who I am isn't okay. I can't have my creativity, my sexuality, my sensuality, my true state of being. I'll just stay in this, this submissive place or this powerless place. That's an aspect of the wounded feminine. And what we're experiencing is the rise of the feminine, the healthy feminine. As the healthy masculine emerges, which is the protector, the orderly in structure, the yielding to the feminine, not threatened by, but working with, holding container. That's very also masculine, so that the feminine can come into her intuitive nature, her sensual nature, her qualities of creativity and being in co-creation with the divine and emotions. Now, to be clear, this isn't male or female. These are aspects of masculine and feminine that exist inside us, inside our being. Well, what we live and embody on a collective level is that, on a collective level, the wounded masculine, which is the patriarchy element, has been an oppression to the feminine on a collective level, whether you are male or female. Men certainly have heard the words, don't cry, like man up. Don't be in touch with your feminine, that's sissy. Women also, I have to stuff my emotions. Don't make a peep. Children would be seen, not heard. These are aspects of suppressing the second chakra area of the body, because in the root chakra, we're holding fear-based beliefs that are inherently ingrained, that who I am, as I am, and as in my truth is not okay. And this is big right now. It's big because we're in a time period where the feminine is rising. And when I say that, I mean the power of the second chakra is healing itself. And it's healing itself by becoming very vocal. And it's healing itself by allowing the empathic and sensitive and intuitive qualities of our humanity to unsuppress, to stop being shoved down like they're not a part of us, that they're weird, that they're too metaphysical, that they're too out there, when in fact they are natural senses that our body has. And the more we fragment them and push them away and put them in the closet, the more imbalanced we become as human beings. We are not whole. We are not integrated. We are not connected and in alignment with ourselves when a part of us is in the closet, when a part of us is shoved away. And so the work here, and this is what I want to support you with in this healing, the work here is that we're coming into alignment in our being, that we are healing what we're holding on a deep inherited level in our body. So I'm going to take you through a guided healing, but here's what I want to tell you is that in this guided healing, we're talking about years and years and decades and hundreds of years of conditioning that we might be holding in the body. And so we'll work with as much as we can work with in the amount of time we have. And at the end of this call, I'm going to explain to you another opportunity for us to go deeper into more healing around this issue. We can only do so much, and the wisdom of our body only allows us to release as much as we can in the moment. So I'm going to provide you a release, and then we'll save some space at the end, and I'll let you know about how you can deepen this process. But for now, we're going to go ahead and close our eyes and come inward into our body. So I'm going to close my eyes, and I want to remind you there are wonderful healers that are holding space for you in this process. And so we'll take some deep breaths and imagine that you are taking a deep seat into your body. And as you take a deep seat into your body, imagine that the soles of your feet are planted and rooted. And roots grow from the soles of your feet, just as a long tree trunk extends from your sit bones and your hips all the way down through the layers of the earth. And since we've already opened up the container for healing, we'll just intend again that there's beautiful light around you for protection, and that you are in charge of your own body, your own healing. So anything your system is willing to release at this time, we'll just acknowledge your body's ability and power in doing that, being able to do that. We're going to start with your grounding cord. The powerful history in the roots of your system. And any unconscious fear that you may be holding in your grounding that might actually be why your soul has inherently moved away from grounding, moved up higher in the body. Because maybe it hasn't been able to root down because there's energy to clear. Your soul is wise that way. And so take some deep breaths here into your grounding cord. Even though your grounding cord is an extension of your body, you can direct your breath to the felt sense of your grounding cord or the visualization of your grounding cord. Breathe into your grounding cord as if it has lungs, as if it does breathe. And exhale. And as you exhale to release energy, it's going to go down into the earth and transform as clear, clean, vibrant earth energy. It purifies. Take some deep breaths here, and we're going to start to let go on an innate level of the fear of belonging. At some point in your soul's trajectory, the human experience that was happening at the time left you with an imprint of, I don't belong here. Take some deep breaths. Start to move and clear and exhale down your grounding cord, this imprint. And we're going to acknowledge that there may have been some truth in not belonging at that time. Maybe what your soul was really saying is, I don't belong in the energy of hurt. I don't belong in the consciousness of greed. It doesn't feel good to me to sit in the presence of human beings hurting human beings. And so maybe that ingrained belief wasn't wrong. Ingrained belief of I don't belong here wasn't wrong. But maybe it's holding a memory or an awareness of the past that doesn't exist now. And so as you're breathing into your grounding cord and releasing the wounds and the fear of not belonging, you can frame it in your mind and in your heart and your being as, I didn't belong there and then, but I belong here and now. I didn't belong in that energy. It wasn't a fit for me. It wasn't right. But I belong here and now. Good, deep breaths, and we're going to allow the power of your presence, your light and vibrancy to take up space in your grounding cord. As if your grounding cord is renewing with your new choice in belonging here now. And we're going to take this awareness of belonging and bring it to your root chakra, area of your body, and just simply acknowledge the fear that you might have marinated in, that might have been what your parents marinated in, which might have been from what their grandparents, their parents marinated in. Maybe it's a fear of emotions or a fear of being in your truth, because what they were experiencing at the time might have required them to believe that. Take some deep breaths here at your root chakra, which is in your tailbone area, a very subconscious and hardwired area of our body. We're going to say to the fears that we were immersed in, beliefs we were immersed in, that this no longer belongs here. I belong here. My truth belongs here in my root chakra. This fear doesn't belong here. fear of other people, their fears projected onto me. It doesn't belong here in my body, in my root. Deep breaths. This quality of wounded masculine, whether it was male or female, projected onto me, forming my thoughts, my beliefs about myself, my safety in the world. Perhaps it doesn't belong here. I belong here. My truth belongs here, in the root chakra of your body. Move in here like you're moving into a new home. Keep breathing. Good. As you're moving into this new space here, as you're taking up space, there may be quite a bit to clear, and just keep your breath moving. Trust your body's wisdom that as you relax and let go, it lets go of more energy than you may realize. Creating more space for your light to be embodied here. Just above your root chakra is your second chakra. It's this beautiful orange power center for your feminine, whether you're male or female. It's the power of your creativity and your emotions, your empathic intuition, your ability to feel what's going on around you, feeling others' emotions, feeling the temperature of the world. It's also the power of transmuting and transforming that energy through creativity, through communication, through knowing yourself and your power and your gifts in this world, and being able to hold space for others, allowing them to be in their own emotions, their own truth, having compassion and empathy. But when we're told we're wrong innately, when we inherently live in the operating system that something's wrong with me, no one's validating my experience, no one's helping me recover, no one's rescuing me, no one's giving me a sense of nervous system relief, then the petals of this flower crush. The power of the feminine becomes wounded. And we operate in the world with a flower that's crushed in the petals, in the pelvis. We become victimized. We become overwhelmed energetically. We over caretake. We become confused about our personal responsibility. We become angry. We suppress that anger and it becomes rage. We don't express that rage, so it becomes symptoms. We become codependent. We lose our power. Our gifts become out of control. And so as you're rooted here down into the second chakra, feeling the power of your grounding cord, we're going to bring healing to this area, to the feminine, to the flowered, petaled flower in the second chakra in the pelvis. It's orange. And I invite you to take some cleansing breaths right down into your pelvis and let go of the energy that's crossed into your boundaries, telling you you're bad and wrong. Let go of the shaming. Let go of the control. Let go of the projection of threat, that your gifts were threatening on some level. Deep breaths. Good. Imagine that you now, in the second chakra area, this beautiful orange power center, typically, that you are going to start to push out. That the feminine power, which is subtle, is going to grow here and now in its subtlety, in the power of your sensitivity. And this beautiful, innocent, playful, creative power is emerging from your second chakra, releasing any energy that has gotten in. It's come in too close and too deep. It's not yours to caretake or to believe. Deep breaths as the petals of this flower repair themselves. Here and now, for every time in your life that you didn't have a repair. Deep breaths, let that energy unfurl and expand. You get to say, this is my space. Everyone else goes back to them. You get to say, get out. You can get to say, I forgive, whether that's yourself or others. Only if that's appropriate, only if that's resonating. You get to say, I'm not ready to forgive. I'm ready to feel my feelings. Opening up more space here for your truth. Good. As you open up more power here in the second chakra area of your body, we're allowing the power of presence in your root and the immersion, the opening, emerging of presence in your second chakra to now invite your soul to take a deeper seat in your body. When we make more space for our true essence and our power in our first and second chakras, our digestion comes into balance. Our ego starts to settle down. The energy rising and racing in the heart, causing anxiety or stress, starts to descend and ground. The energy that's lifted to the head and is popping out the frontal lobe, trying to problem solve everything, now has an opportunity to lean back and relax down into your body. And in the lower body, we open up the pathways, the channels to the power of peace, power of steadiness. That you didn't come here as a soul to forget yourself. You didn't come here to lose connection to yourself. We step on that spiritual journey, or the spiritual journey finds us. And we're ready to accept responsibility, to anchor into truth in our being of who we are, why we're here. And to know that our experience in this lifetime, currently, we were made for. We've been seasoned. We have power in us that we need to actualize. And we have consciousness to shift on this planet. And we're just remembering that. And so we'll let the rest of your chakras come into balance as you take a deep seat. Simply through your breath and through the pipeline of grace in your body, this central channel in your body that encases your chakras. And then above your head, we'll envision, you can envision angels, you can envision the divine light, whatever works for you, but that there's a picture of liquid light, of healing light being poured into the crown of your head as this beautiful high frequency to help dissolve any debris, to help relax you, and help your system let go of any energy that your being right now, today, no longer wants to carry. You choose your light, you choose yourself. Take a big step forward into your body if needed, and a deep seat down into your lower body as your spine grows tall and strong. As you're receiving this light. Let this liquid light flow through all of your organs, your muscles, your bones, your ligaments, down your arms and legs. Allowing it to radiate out into the auric field around you, releasing any energy that might have moved into the auric field. We heal from the inside out, so allowing that energy to be cleansed in your aura, all the way around you, behind you, in front of you, sides. And then we'll pray here for a beautiful purple light around the outside of your energy system. That this purple light, it's the outer layer of your aura, and may it keep you safe in your own body energetically. May it allow you to hold your container and infuse light into your being, supporting you in integrating this healing. I pray that our energies be grounded in our own bodies. That if there's a newfound sense of grounding or power in the lower body, that may you feel that embodiment, may you anchor into your sense of self. Maybe that power is non-verbal, non-mental. Maybe just an awareness, not just, but an awareness. Pray that our energies are grounded in our own bodies individually. I give thanks for this opportunity to be of service here in the highest way that I may be. I pray that we continue to walk in the love and the light of who we are, and that we may be guided by our own true hearts every step of the way. And thank you. Take your time. You might want to keep you might want your eyes closed whenever you feel ready. You can slowly open your eyes and come into connection. I am going to take some time to do a Q&A and check in and see how that was for you, or any questions about the healing. Before we go there, I want to tell you about the opportunity to go a little bit deeper and to say that, in this healing, we're talking about, reconnection to the earth on an energetic level. We're talking about healing a great deal of embedded energy, wounds of fear, wounds of the patriarchy, wounds of the wounded feminine that we hold in the system of the body. And when we unconsciously carry this energy, we unconsciously put ourselves back into circumstances in life that are going to rewound us. And so it's really important that for our personal healing, but also for our future generations, for knowing that our purpose on life is not just this lifetime. It's the whole trajectory of our soul. What is our imprint? What is our footprint on this earth? How are we contributing to life? These are big existential questions, but a lot of it ties into, what am I willing to transform in my being and model and shift and hold in myself, carry myself with now, knowing that on a soul level I have a choice. So we're going to go deeper into that, because there is, if you've touched in on some pieces, you might be aware that, wow, there's really more here, and there's only so much we can cover in a 20-minute healing. So at the end of this month, I am going to be offering a retreat, and it's a 3-day retreat. It's 2.5 days. So it's called the Deep Healing Retreat for Your Energy Body. Release the inherited wounds embedded in your core to embody your true self. So it's taking what we've been covering here and expanding it over 5 sessions. It's going to happen August 28th through the 30th. So it's a Friday through a Sunday morning session. So they are about 3-hour sessions, one in the morning sessions and 2 afternoon sessions on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And what's amazing about this retreat is that there are going to be assistants also joining the assistants that you see here. They have the name, the initials ASST in front of their names. They are going to be assisting during this retreat and also offering breakout session support after we do the deep guided healing. So there's this opportunity for additional healing that happens, additional support and processing as we go into the teachings and the deep guided healings that we'll be going into. So the retreat, I'll give you the link now, which is that it's schoolofintuitivestudies.com/retreat. And that's where you can learn about that retreat. We'll also be sending you an email, and we'll be focusing on again, healing in the first two chakras of the body specifically. We'll be also integrating the others, but what's really important to me is that so much of this work was handed down to me in handed down practice, and that I'm really teaching this material from that place, like from that awareness that we're really coming in very carefully and very intricately in the energy body to identify what we're holding that we might not necessarily know we're holding because it's so deeply subconscious. So what we'll be working on in this 3-day process is to look at the patterns in your energy system and how to dissolve those imprints in your lower body that might have kept you stuck and disempowered. We're also going to look at understanding how intuition works in the body and how you can tap into your inner guidance and your divine higher guidance to support your healing. I'll say something about that in a moment also. Also, you're going to be receiving energy healing tools to support working with the lower chakras, and you're going to understand how karma works and what it means to complete soul contracts through the energy body. And I explain that a bit here in terms of moving through the lifetimes, but we'll really work with releasing energy around those contracts. And you'll also be working with thriving as a divinely connected individual, no longer consumed by longing or wounding. Instead, you'll be supported in living from your powerful system and your wisdom. And you'll receive these teachings live. If you can be there, and if not, they'll be recorded. So all the sessions will be recorded, and you can stay on track throughout. So if you have to miss a session, the recording will be there later in the day, so you can listen to it before you come back in the next day. So we will have that, as well as the small group facilitations with your breakout assistant. And the cost of the retreat is a one-time payment of $347 for the 5 sessions, 3.5 days, and it's going to be 9 to 5 with a 2-hour break on Friday and Saturday, and then 9 to noon on Sunday. All of that information is detailed on that link, schoolofintuitivestudies.com/retreats. And then the other thing I wanted to tell you is that I just I recorded a really powerful bonus just yesterday. So it's a recording that I've never offered anywhere before, and it's the power of knowing yourself and opening up to your higher guidance. So the meditation is on allowing yourself to hear the truth of why you're here from your soul, and also being able to embody that wisdom, that information that comes through. So it's guiding you into accessing that information on a soul level, and then giving you the tools on how to ground that information into your being, so that it's not it's not a ambiguous question. It's coming from an embodied place, knowing why you're here. So I'm very excited about that bonus. That is a bonus that if you you register by, I think it's, I don't know, I think it's this evening. It's a bonus that will be emailed to you, and there's a deadline to receive that bonus. So I don't remember when that deadline is, but you'll get it in an email. We're also going to be offering a few more bonuses. We'll be offering an energetic detox called Empowering the Empath, an energetic detox and centering for sensitive beings. It's a 90-minute deep guided meditation. And we're going to be offering one on grief, loss, and loneliness, a path to spiritual love. That's also another bonus, as well as a healing to instill peace by honoring the divine and sacred self. And then this is a brand new bonus too. I'm going to be offering you a toolkit for parenting your highly sensitive child. So I've yet to release that one. Similar, it's how to parent an intuitive child. So those are 5 powerful bonuses that are coming with this retreat. And again, the cost of it is $347, and you can go ahead and register right away at schoolofintuitivstudies.com/retreat. And you can read about the event there. So I do hope to see you on the 28th for this powerful retreat. And from here, I would love to just open up to any questions anybody may have, any sharings, anything you'd like to. I'm going to open up my view here. If anybody has any questions, or want to share how the meditation was for you. And just keep in mind, if you do have questions, you will need to unmute and ask them, since the chat feature is not currently accessible at the moment. I think maybe Michelle, correct me if there's instruction on that. Oh, there we go. Ronalda, good to see you. Go ahead, Ronalda, you can unmute. See, can you unmute, Ronalda?
Okay. Can you hear me?
There you go. Yep. Hi.
Hi. I've been struggling the whole time, as you were mentioning, the generational and the ancestors, and
Yeah.
and only because of who I am, being Navajo.
Yeah. Yeah.
As we were meditating, I saw all my grandmothers line up in a row, and sort of just reveal their inability to speak and their inability to really be who they wanted to be. Yeah. And so they were also stating to me that this is the opportunity for you to state such and be that voice for them. But then I also said to them, that's a lot of pressure for generations all the way from 1860, whatever. And I'm like, that goes way back. But yeah. But I've been struggling with that, and also the masculinity and femininity, because my father left. Well, he was present with me, at times, but he was always not present until my mother divorced when I was 11. But I often have felt, because I was the oldest in my family, and also being almost 6 feet tall, that often people expected me to carry on the masculinity. And and it was something for those women who are very tall. They always presume that you have male qualities and you should fight like a male. And so when my father left, it was one of those carrying on the anger and carrying on the anger of men in general, that now, as I've released it, but it's also been one of those things to where there's that struggle with femininity and the masculine again. And just within the last 2 weeks, I've been called to sit on a panel committee for the state of New Mexico to be a voice for Native American children with disabilities. And I haven't been in that place for a while after this, my whole gifted and my gifts being revealed and this whole new spiritual awareness, that when I attended the meeting, I felt like I haven't been there in a long time. And it felt like a newness, but it also felt like my mind was so attuned to people's voices and also where they were coming from, that I just spoke up for a number of things. But it was different for me. But I'm feeling now that I'm taking on this newness of my life, but also creating the balance I need to push on to my purpose and what I need to do. Because my spiritual self has always been there, but I sort of just dragged it along and just thought, one day maybe, is it today, is it not? Because I was so consumed by the physical world.
Yeah. So let me say this, and I always love hearing you speak, by the
Oh,
way.
thank you.
I always love your sharing. So the part that scares you about the ancestors and the grandmothers, you know, the matriarchs, there's some, it gave me chills when you said it, because it scares you. And sometimes we turn towards the things that scare us because we know there's truth in it. There's something to breathe into, that moment of fear. I'm gonna breathe into what scares me about this, because that's when you start to integrate it. That's when you start to integrate the truth, or maybe you get to decide, I want to hear what it is, and can I breathe into it? I'll hear it and I'll speak it. I'll hear it and I'll say it to myself. I'll hear it and I'll repeat back to myself what I heard. Oh, you want me to come forward with my voice? Okay, I'll come forward with my voice. Or whatever it might be, I'm coming forward with the power of the feminine. That might be the energy that needs to counterbalance the other teaching that you got, which was the masculine. You need to carry forth the masculine, and maybe it's just that I don't know how you're saying, I don't know if this is how you're meaning it, but when we carry forth the masculine out in an out of balance way, it's because the feminine needs to come up. The feminine needs to rise. And I wonder if that, facing that fear of what that spiritual part of you is carrying, like you said, is dragging, let it catch up, let it come in, let it embody, let it be whatever that message is. I know we've got people here, but got a lot of hands up, but does that help?
Yeah, it helps. I know everything you always say. I'm put it all to context when you say, because I'm like, yep, that's what I'm going through. That's it's in agreement with you. So just to say,
blessings.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And Wendy, I'm just going to type in, this is Michelle, the administrator, and a couple people are asking. So just to clarify, if you have a question for Wendy, please raise your hand. That's under your manage yourself participants under at the bottom. You just click on that and you'll see that there is an option to raise your hand at the bottom. So please just use that to ask a question to Wendy.
Okay. Tracy. Go ahead, Tracy.
Hello, how are you?
Hello, good, how are you?
Good to see you again.
Good.
I just more have a comment for you. About 2 years ago, I took one of your classes and really started on a spiritual journey and learning a lot about my gifts and you empowered me to teach other women and write my first book on the chakras. And so I don't get an opportunity like this much. So I just wanted to thank you. I compliment you in my book, and I experienced something this last week that brought back up the old wounds. So having this today, you reminded me of empowering myself and sitting back into who I am as a being. And I appreciate this training. And that's really what I wanted to say to you. So.
Oh, thank you. Wow. Well, can you put your link in the chat for your book?
Yes.
I would love to see it. Oh, is it not out yet?
It's not out. It will be out, but it's called
Okay.
glowing through the chakras. So
Oh, very
or
cool. Well, if
basic,
you can send it to us at the school
I will.
to info at School of
Yeah.
Intuitive Studies, we'd love
Thank
to
you so
check it
much.
out.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you. Malika.
Hi, Wendy. I just absolutely
Hi.
love your work. I'm such a big fan of you and everything that you do, and I'm an empath, so it really helps. I've like attended a lot of your stuff, so I'm just so grateful to be here and to be able to ask a question at this moment.
Absolutely. Thank you.
My question was, I'm already doing a lot of healing work on myself, and I even worked with one of your assistants recently, which was amazing. I just kind of want to know, how often should we, like, is this a daily practice that we have to kind of tune into, like what you just did now, which really helped me round into my lower chakras? And how can we know if, like, what's the tipping point? Like, where do we, like, you know what I mean? Like, because it could be endless, but like, how long does it actually take to get in there? And yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question, because there are meditations that are a little bit more for maintenance and for grounding, and then there's meditations that are for healing, for deeper healing. This was a little more of a deeper healing meditation. At the same time, you know, I didn't go in as deep as I would, for example, in the retreat, where we've got an hour to go into a healing and we're going to spend extensive time. This might be one that you could listen to as needed or a few times to really help that anchoring. But here's what happens is when we start to shift the energy in our body, because we're maybe re-listening to meditations, or we have ones that we like, our system embodies that. So then we, you know, it might be that we don't have to listen to the meditation. It's just, oh, I have body memory I have body awareness of coming back into that. I'm going to revisit that awareness of the grounding cord, and, you know, feeling what it felt like to really drop into my first two chakras. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not that you have to go through the long meditation. It's a lot. It takes quicker and easier to go into it the more we have it embodied. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Is that helpful? Yeah. So there might be more of a grounding practice for daily, you know, daily use. And then this one could be utilized to help the consciousness shift in the body, so that the body starts to feel more grounded.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, that's a beautiful question. Thank you. William.
Oh, I'm unmuted. Great.
Hi. Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Very nice to meet you. That was a lovely healing and meditation. And of course, we've been working together for so long now, and I really appreciate it. And my question is, it feels like that work in the first and second chakra is really fundamental for me. And you know, I just I did a self-guided retreat from a book, 21 Day Soul Cleanse, in 2008 or 2009, and I just for some reason was inspired to pull out my journal and look at it, and I'm struck by how many of the same issues I'm still dealing with. You know, I mean, some are, the names are different, but a lot of the issues are the same. And so my question is, you know, that felt like a really good healing, but and I didn't necessarily need to name all of the ways in which I felt the healing, but how do I keep that energy going? How do I keep that healing going? And the last comment is, I just love the closing with the crown chakra and the purple light around. That was really
Really Oh, great. So here's the thing, is that in some ways, you know, there is, when we get into a system, like a system, and I'll say this in transparency about like my work, for example, and this doesn't, I'll give it to everybody from my work perspective, but this could apply to any system. So, you know, my system, will say, is not just the School of Intuitive Studies, but like the healer training program, for example. We join a system, we begin at the beginning, we're working on the root, we're clearing out you know, through the body. We're transitioning to the next level. We start to clear out more energy in the body. We start, you know, we're moving along a system. And sometimes when we're going back to healings without the system fully embodied in there, and we're not going back to the roots and the foundations of the system, the shift doesn't always happen when we're dropping in here and there. Now we can take any system, and it could be a yoga system, it could be a whatever it might be. There's a difference between, I'll say it this way, dropping into a yoga class and doing a teacher training. You know, when we start to embody more of the training in our system, in our body, when I mean our energy system, we are shifting patterns, whereas sometimes dropping into a healing is good for what that is. But it might be that, wow, there's some really core fundamental pieces here that I'm not, you know, making shifts with, because it needs more foundation. It needs more of a system to go into it. Does that help?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. I mean, I think that's true. Always go deeper, you know.
Yeah.
But in terms of practical steps, like to even just to keep that energy today or through the week, you know. It's like,
Yeah, I think it's similar to what Malika was saying, is that, you know, what my answer to her in terms of grounding, you know, listening to the meditation again until the body feels like, and you know, I have many meditations you can go back to in the DHIC also, but to feel like, wow, my body's really staying with this consciousness,
yeah.
you know. Yeah. I
Okay,
hope that
thank you.
helps.
Yeah, thanks a
Yeah,
lot.
absolutely. Thanks, William.
All right.
Okay. Bye. I know we're just at time. I am going to stay on a bit and take some more questions because there's hands up. Is that okay? Michelle, are you?
Yeah, Wendy, let me just add a few things in case anybody does have to pop off.
Yeah.
So I did
Yeah.
want to let everybody know that the bonus that will expire is called, it's a 20-minute guided healing called The Power of Knowing Yourself and Opening Up to Your Higher Guidance. And that's going to be expiring on Thursday, August 13th. And just for a little more description, it's a 20-minute guided healing specifically to help you prepare for this retreat and to begin aligning with the healing work you need most at this time. And then the other question that's been coming up a lot from everyone is the recording. Yes, this is absolutely recorded and will go out later today or tomorrow if you came in late or want to just listen again. In addition, the entire retreat will be recorded as well. So you will get access to all the recordings if you sign up, even if you can't attend every day. So that's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Michelle. Great. Kim, where are you? Are you there? Can you unmute, Kim?
I've asked her to unmute herself. We might have to go back to her.
Okay. All right, Kim, we'll come back to you and see if that works. Barbara, are you there, Barbara?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi.
Hi. I just wanted to really quickly say I really appreciated, Ronaldo, your share, because I too am 6 feet tall. And I do think it's difficult to have discernment around when you're getting that pressure to live out of your masculine side when you're 6 feet tall. And then it's very difficult to find a partner or situations where you can really inhabit your femininity. So anyway, thank you so much, Ronaldo. I loved your share. My question is around the need and the value for mirroring that we all have, and the way that it helps me in particular to like ground and integrate something I know about myself if I see it in another person, like Ronaldo's share, for example. But then how do you discriminate between telling a story and avoiding kind of driving the karma deeper, if you know what I mean? Like if you get yourself all jacked up in the story, it's almost like you enliven the wound as opposed to heal the wound. Can you talk about that?
Yeah,
spot?
Well, in some ways, it's a belief system that you're talking about. The belief system is, if I tell my story, I'm going to embed the story more deeply, which means there's fear there. Fear is informing this belief system that if I tell my story, it's going to embed this belief system. Here's the other part of it. The underneath it is, if that fear isn't there, that I'm going to be doing that, then the alternative is, I'm going to tell my story because it's healing for me to release. Every time I release the story, tell the story, it's a form of energy clearing for me. So it's not the act of, it's actually the approach to it and the belief system we're coming from. And that belief system is informed by an emotion too, and that emotion being fear. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you're saying it's the state of mind the consciousness you come from when you tell the story, as opposed to the emotion that you might be coming from. So not fear, but presence.
Presence, having yourself. Yes. Like if I was saying, I wouldn't say it this way, but I hold it in my system. I have myself and I have this story, and I want to tell the story because it is part of my history, but I'm not operating from a collapse, a wounded place of, if I tell this story, it's going to throw me back and I'm going to lose myself.
Right.
Does that make sense? I have myself. That's the difference. So it's have yourself and tell the story. I think that's the
tricky sometimes.
The work.
Yeah. And then in the middle of thinking that you're in presence, you might slip over into emotion, but then you have to catch that. Yeah.
And the emotion's not bad. The emotion's part of the clearing. It's like I when I tell this story, I have grief. And that's a way of saying I'm holding myself and I'm loving myself as I tell this story, but I'm good, I'm okay, but I just have grief when I tell this story because it touches a part of me that I'm remembering about myself. Yes. So again, emotions aren't bad.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, that was really good, great question. Yeah, absolutely. Haya, go ahead. Can you unmute?
Hi, Wendy. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, well, thank you so much for this opportunity. Like a lot of individuals, I've been following your work for a while, so it's really nice to be able to ask you a question live.
Absolutely.
Well, like Ronaldo was sharing, the part where you were explaining the journey of a soul, that really, or something about that really resonated with me. Particularly the part where you were explaining that, like, say like a soul may have been like an oppressive male in one lifetime and then comes into the next lifetime feeling really oppressed in the second chakra area. And that's resonated with me, and this isn't the first time that's come up. It's a thought, or just kind of like a curiosity, like, I wonder if that may have been true for me. And so right now during the meditation, I felt a lot of guilt and shame, if that is the case. And I'm just wondering, how would you differentiate between appropriate guilt and shame that's coming from your wounded ego? Because at this point, I can't really tell where that's coming from. Yeah.
So because it's got stirred in the healing, I would consider it a part of a release, like, meaning it touched in on the healing, which means it needs some attention. And if you just give it attention without needing to know, is this good, bad, right, or wrong, or where is it coming from? But I'm just going to give myself 90 seconds. You can even put your timer on. It's going to feel like 90 seconds is going to maybe feel like a long time. And it's only 90 seconds, and maybe 2 minutes, under 2 minutes. give yourself time to breathe through that guilt and shame. Let the emotion process. Breathe. I acknowledge that this might be old. Maybe it's related to this story of oppression. Maybe it's related to something else, not sure. And that's true in the energy bodies, that these stories in our body about our soul's history, they are a story, and they help us access a particular emotion. So it's interesting because past life work comes up a lot, and certainly in my training program, we work with it. And it's always curious to people working with past lives, but past life work is a tool to access an emotion, a stored emotion in a layer of consciousness of our body. That's what it is. And so when we actually have an awareness of it and there's an emotion, I would encourage or invite a little, like a celebration around that. Wow, I touched in on this old shame. I'm going to breathe into that. I'm going to give it attention. Now, this would mean what Barbara was sharing, that means I would be able to have myself, to be able to say, I am, I am here and I'm okay. And I'm going to take 90 seconds to breathe through this emotion and then let it process through, because either way it's wounded ego, because wounded ego is part of past lives, it's part of emotions, unprocessed emotions. So it's just about bringing space into the emotion and letting it, giving it room to move. Does that help?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. I feel like that's such an empowering way to look at it, because I guess for me, it was also bringing up some anxiety, like, oh no, now I have to look at past life stuff too. And it all gets kind of heavy. So thank you. That feels like a relief, really.
Yeah. Oh, good. Good. It's amazing. This is another part in like when we talk about the patriarchy energetically, or the wounded masculine, is that we have the emotion, and then we have the shame all over the emotion. And we have to process the shame just to get to the emotion sometimes. Like, it's bad, it's wrong, I shouldn't feel this way, I'm a bad person, where do I go with this? And so just be aware of that. Wow, do I need to feel the shame of actually being able to have my grief or have my anger or whatever it might be? So
Thank you.
Thank you, Haya. Yeah, thank you. Great. Maybe I know there's a lot of hands. I wish I could get to everybody in my heart, and I know I won't be able to. We do have to stop at the top of the hour. So might be able to take one more question. We'll see how long it'll go. Amanda. Go ahead, Amanda.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, yes.
Okay. I actually, I had never heard of you or your work before last night when this happened to show up in my feed on Instagram. And I am an intuitive healer by nature, and I've kind of always been in touch with my past lives, and just not by any teachings. I've just recently started wanting to find places to sort of grow this with other folks. And kind of what you were talking about with the not only past life emotions being held, but also from like our hereditary ancestry. And so I guess my question is kind of around, like, those two have always been very muddled up for me, because I know some about my family history, and I know I have, like, on my mother's side, there was a very abusive father. So there was like that wounded, feminine, patriarchal sort of battle, if you will. And how much information I've known about that throughout my life has been very minimal. I feel like I actually have a greater knowledge of lives than my family history at this point. And so trying to heal that wounded feminine while still realizing that wounded patriarchy kind of side is also part of myself and my past. It's like in the last few months, I've just sort of really had this like, wow, that man is also part of who I am. And so continuing to sort of separate those things and really be able to kind of drop in, because this is actually the first time I've ever felt like I've been able to drop below my third chakra. I've never been able to clear that space well enough. And so just, I guess, what your advice would be on kind of continuing through that with having such a limited view into what I'm really working with.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And the first thing I want to give you permission, not that you need my permission, but that you have permission to breathe into the any feelings around not having that information. Just the fact that in itself it hasn't been accessible, or it has been difficult to get the answers, or you don't have the full picture, just to be able to to process some of that on the periphery. Does that make sense how I say that? And then I would trust your intuition. I mean, like you said, you're an intuitive healer. Trust your intuition around what you're holding. Trust your intuition around what information your intuition says you need to get, because some information might be important to get and some information may not matter, and it may not be what stops you from moving forward in any way in your life. You know what I mean? It might not have power over you. Yeah. So that part, and then the part about the wounded masculine, that's real for a lot of people. I'm making big generalization. We all have embodied the patriarchy. I mean, on some level, if you're raised in a system, and it's not just in the United States, if you've been raised in structural religious societies, and here in patriarchal rulers, in countries, we have embodied it on some level. And so when we're looking at that, saying I need to first acknowledge it and see it, because it is in the blind spot. One of the ways that we notice it in ourselves is through our monkey mind. When our monkey mind beats up our feminine, you're so stupid. What are you thinking? Why are you doing that? Who do you think you are? That's that's the ingrained patriarchy that has been part of our monkey mind system. It's part of our wounded ego. So what we can do in working with it is acknowledge that. Okay, I see you. I hear you. I get it. Your job is to remind me of where I came from in the root chakra, what I marinated in, and I'm going to shift how I'm loving myself. I'm going to call in more of the feminine aspect of my being. Again, whether you're male or female, just that quality of, I'm going to love myself through, this human experience, or through this monkey mind experience. That essence quality nurtures us and brings us back down into our body, into grounding. So those are some of the ways. It does bring up it's a whole lesson in itself. It brings up a whole lot more, but does that help?
Yeah, that really does. Thank you. That helps me feel like I am on kind of the right path, and that not being able to access information doesn't have to inhibit my path. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. It's good to meet you too.
You too.
Thank you. So we are at time. I want to tell you before you go is that we are going to have another Q&A call, because there are a lot of questions, and we were thinking there were going to be. And so we are going to be I'm going to be holding a Q&A call on Wednesday at 5 p.m. Mountain Time, and you'll get information about that. So for those who I couldn't get to today, there's an opportunity again there. I don't know if we're taking questions ahead of time yet, but we'll inform you on email if we're taking them ahead of time. Otherwise, I will be live answering questions for an hour, a whole Q&A session. So so I hope you can come to that, and we'll go further there. And then again, the retreat, I hope to see you in a couple of weeks at the retreat as well. And I'll just do a really brief closing. So we'll just ask that we are grounded here in our bodies and reconnecting to that awareness of the grounding cord and the first and second chakras, that we're deeply rooted into the power of our prevailing soul, our truth, and why we're here. The essence quality of safety in the root and the power of your emotional center in your second chakra, your feminine, your intuition. I pray that we are aligned and let light surround each of us individually as we go from here into the world. I pray that we continue to walk in the love and the light of who we are, and that we may be guided by our own true heart every step of the way. And thank you. Thank you, everyone, so much. And we'll see you very soon. Yeah.
I'm just going to jump in, and just a reminder that if you want to pop on and look at the retreat, it's www.schoolofintuitivestudies.com/retreat. And yes, we have a couple more questions. Yes, there will be a recording of this, and it will be sent out to you via email. So you will get that, as well as more information on the retreat. So keep an eye out. And just one more reminder that we do have a special bonus that will be ending, and it will be ending on August 13th. And so just make sure that if you'd like that bonus, a guided healing, the power of knowing yourself and opening up to your higher guidance by Wendy, you do need to sign up by August 13th. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.